But that's what he says. He says they're not just trying to set us up. He says they want to do that, go into peaceful groups and run off everybody by talking about violence and then imprison those you can, which is calling for crimes. He says that they poses us to mix in disinfo and to get us all fighting with each other. So he's saying the government's, which we have articles here where CENTCOM admits it, the military's doing it. It was going on under Bush. It isn't just the liberal variant, which isn't even liberal. I mean, these are just criminals. But I mean, he's openly announcing that they're committing crimes. I guess he wants to just set the precedent and just act like it's normal to do this.
Well, you know what they have done, and I've noticed this quite distinctly over the last 10 years. Up until that time, the people who were listening to me and what I had to say about the different subjects that I discussed, they were pretty conservative people. And at the last 10 years, half of my subscribership is conservative. The other half are ex-liberals, Marxist, Leninists. I mean, people that have all come into the middle together. And this has to be just sending them up a tree because they don't know what to do about it. So well,
that's my next issue, is that reading the Village Voice, raw story, literally scores in the last 3 or 4 days on this guy. It was the liberals, the real liberals, and I don't agree with their ideology given to them by the banks, but the next step is for them to wake up to collectivism being a fraud, and they're starting to do that. Every comment on Raw Story, which is huge, on the article said, he's a fascist, just as bad as Bush. They all work for the banks. It's global government. It's New World Order. My God, Alex Jones is right. I mean, literally, they're in there saying that. Alternet, all these sites, even though they're run by Soros, a lot of them, their own people are bolting from the reservation going, oh, my God, it's all true, New World Order. I mean, I think it's sabotaging themselves. I want this scumbag to continue saying what he's saying.
Well, he's certainly waking people up, people who are on the edge, people who said, gee, I don't have time for this. My wife and I are working 2 jobs each, and we can hardly get to see the kids. You know, we rush into the house, make dinner, eat, and go to sleep. And all of a sudden they're going to say, gee, these people are coming out and they're saying, if I disagree with anything they have to say, they're going to put me away. That's not right. I mean, they've gone too far. And so this is opening the minds of people even further. Again, desperate people do desperate things, and that's what they've done.
But, Bob, isn't it also that they've misjudged a lot of the public? I mean, part of the public are a bunch of cowards, 25% or so. And so by saying you're not allowed to question the government, you're not allowed to question global warming, or we will arrest you. I saw that 5 years ago in the British news. Last year they called for arresting Lord Monckton for treason. And said execute him. The liberals now want to kill people. You know, they're only against the death penalty when it's for themselves, but they want to kill us. Now they're saying it here, and I think they're making the calculation that they are the mommy, they are the daddy, they will tell you what you're allowed to talk about, and that all the yuppies and everybody will hear them say they're not allowed to question, and so they're taking political correct. I mean, it's like Chris Matthews over and over again saying, if you question government health care, you are a racist. That's a quote. And no one was talking about race. They just inject it through COINTELPRO to create more divide and conquer, and that blew up in their face. So, but they really think they're God.
Well, they certainly do. Just read the Foreign Affairs. I've been a subscriber since 1960. And when I wasn't a subscriber, I bought it off the newsstand. And it's all there. They can't keep their mouth shut. It's as simple as that. It's pretty easy to run down their ego. And look at Wall Street. Lloyd Blankfein, the CEO of Goldman Sachs, tells us he's doing God's work by stealing our money. I mean,
and then we have the TSA guy. And we had the TSA guy last week in L.A. go crazy and start saying, I am God, I am in charge.
Well, that's to be expected from people like that. I mean, look at people go through at the airport. I won't even travel.
Well, that's another issue. That's another issue. The naked body scanners are now going into courthouses nationwide. They summon you, force you to come, and then record your naked body and put it in a database.
That's right. And it's only the beginning as they damage your DNA.
Well, remember The Running Man in 1984, where Schwarzenegger's going around and billboards are announcing, report a family member, get a double credit, cadre kids. They now are putting up billboards in New York, and they're saying nationwide rollout, jumbo screens with the FBI giving you anti-terror messages. We are literally worse than North Korea now.
Well, I'll go along with that, and I think most of the people who are listening will as well. Otherwise, they wouldn't be listening to this program. It's up to you out there. You've got to absorb all this, and you've got to tell people what our government's trying to do to us. We'll get the information out to you, other than just here. InfoWars has got, what did you say, 5 different pieces on it?
Yes.
There you go. Go to InfoWars, copy them, send them out to everybody you know, whether you think they're going to turn you down or not. You know, you never know until you ask for the order whether you're going to get it. Well, in this case, you're never going to know about people accepting what you've got to say. You don't know what's going to pull somebody's chain.
Well, it's not even accepting. We have the video and audio. In fact, here is a clip of him saying we're going to ban hunting outright, and the Second Amendment isn't an individual right, and the next 3 years, look for the judicial system to overturn it. Here's that clip of the White House head of regulatory affairs, the Office of Information and Regulatory Affairs. Here it is.
Animals. Not to ban hunting, I suggest, if there isn't a purpose other than sport and fun. That should be against the law. It's time now, sir. With the previous speakers, I believe that human interests certainly count in the overall balance. But most of the time, the problem is animal interests are not counted at all. They have zero weight. In the long run, if this is correct, our willingness to subject animals to unjustified suffering will be seen, as Bentham and Mill thought, as a form of unconscionable barbarity, not the same as, but in many ways morally akin to, slavery and the mass extermination of human beings.
My coming view is that the individual right to bear arms reflects the success of an extremely aggressive and resourceful social movement, and has much less to do with good standard legal arguments than appears. We have seen an unbelievable transformation in the culture of the Second Amendment in a short time. As late as the early 1990s. Consider, for example, that part of the law of the District of Columbia that requires citizens to keep lawfully owned shotguns bound at home by a trigger lock. Suppose that a citizen objects, as citizens have been objecting, that the trigger lock interferes with his efforts at self-defense against criminals. What on earth does that have to do with the Second Amendment as originally understood? My tentative suggestion is that the individual right to have guns, as it's being conceptualized now, is best taken as a contemporary creation and a reflection of current fears, not a reading of civic-centered founding debates. Modern gun owners who are invoking the Second Amendment on the basis of a principle they favor are perfectionists, not so different from older people who tried unsuccessfully, I'm pleased to say, to get the Equal Protection Clause read to strike down mandatory retirement laws. Well, in terms of judicial developments, it is striking and noteworthy that well over 2
Stay there. We're going to come back. This is the key part of the clip. Stay with us.